Captain, we have them! We've established Transporter Lock, the Star Trek Discovery podcast. Join Ken and Sabriel each week as they explore strange new episodes, seek out new plots and new characters, and boldly go where no podcast has gone before.
Hello and welcome to Transporter Lock episode number 29 for season 2 episode 3, Point of Light of Star Trek Discovery. I'm your co-host, Chief Engineer Ken Gagney.
And I'm Captain Sabriel Maston, and I have just 3 words for you, Ken.
3 words? What are those 3 words, Captain Maston?
What's the point?
What is the point? Point of Light. What is the
This
point?
This episode.
I know. Boy. Yeah, this was my least favorite episode of the season so far.
Yeah, same here. And it does not mean I didn't like it. It just... I mentioned to you just before we started recording, I feel like this could have been 3 short treks.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on here, but it was all very disjointed, and I feel like the first episode of the season, there was a lot of build-up, a lot of narrative, a lot of exposition, but also a lot of action. There was enough to keep us engaged, and the episode itself even ran long to fit it all in. The second episode was more of a traditional Star Trek episode, and as we discussed last week, that appealed to a lot of people, and I enjoyed it too. And then the third episode, I just felt like too much going on, and at the same time, not enough. Not enough that was interesting, not enough that could hold together a whole episode. I felt like they were throwing stuff in not to give us fans something to look at, but just because like they needed to say something and just build it up for the rest of the season.
Yeah, basically like, all right, here's setting up some more things because we didn't do it in the first 2 episodes. Like, and it's not necessarily, like we said, it's not necessarily bad. It was just didn't have that same energy the first 2 had. How about that?
I would definitely agree with that. It's been a very uneven season so far. But let's try to give a little TLDR, if we can, of what did all happen in this episode. And as you said, there could be 3 short treks here, so let's try to do 3 TLDRs. Which one of us should start?
Oh, gosh. I don't know if I could even.
Well, whoever starts also finishes, so who should do 2 of them and who should do 1 of them?
Choose your pain.
No!
You can go first. Yes.
Yes, I'll go first, but I get to choose which TLDRs to do. Should I do Tilly's plot? Should I do Ash's? Or should I do Michael's and Spock's? Which one of those 3 do you want to do?
Oh, you're going to let me choose my pain anyway, huh?
Yeah, I am, to a degree.
I'll take the Klingon one.
Okay, so former Cadet Tilly, now Ensign Tilly, is in the command training program, but she's been infected, as we suspected last week, by a spore that is causing her to see an old dead friend. And this week, when she goes to take her command test, she freaks out because she's seen what she thinks is a ghost or a neurological breakdown, and she quits the command training program. Michael says, hey, it's probably not you, it's probably something else that's going on, and let's get you checked out by Stamets, and they deduce that it is a spore, as we suspected. Specifically, I believe, and we'll get into this if I'm wrong, especially, a mirror universe spore. And so Stamets sucks it out of her with apparently no long-term damage to Tilly, and they capture it in a force field. Is that pretty much it?
That's a good synopsis. Quick TLDR.
All right. Shall we discuss this plot before we get into the other TLDRs?
Yeah, why not? Let's do that. Okay,
so what did you think of the Tilly plot?
I liked it. I got a kick out of it for just interesting. And I felt it was one of the more interesting of the plot points. I guess any of the Federation ones, the Klingon one I felt was the least interesting. But we'll get to that. We're already getting a resolution like, oh, yep, you're right. It is a spore thing. All right, we're going to do a thing about it. Here we go. But one of my favorite parts about this is that Tilly is, I'm not happy that Tilly had a breakdown, but Tilly's having a breakdown in her quarters. And Michael believes her that there's something going on and not the, oh, no, you're just seeing things. Michael believed her and the crew believed her. And I was like, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and Saru refused her resignation from the command training program. I liked that. So what you're saying is something I also picked up on, but you may not know something about me, which is that I grew up watching Days of Our Lives. One of the tropes they used in that show and in all soap operas was characters not talking to each other, of people making assumptions and not bothering to verify the truth, and thus going on and on with the wrong course of action, even marrying the wrong people because they believe the wrong thing. And I saw a little bit of that with Tilly's plot, where if she would just tell somebody what she was going through, she wouldn't have this problem. And she did tell Michael, and Michael believed her. So this was a pretty brief resolution from the time the spore was activated last week to the time that the truth came out this week. I like how brief that was, because in Days of Our Lives, this could have gone on for literally years. I'm still a little frustrated that they used a soap opera trope, because I would like to see this crew communicating to each other. Even in the very first episode, we saw Burnham not telling Pike about the Red Angel. And she had a good reason for that, because her last captain was a cheat. But the very next week, she did confide in him. And so we're seeing this trust building pretty quickly. And I'm glad to see that, at least.
Oh, yeah. Gosh, I was thinking about while you were talking here, that this whole Tilly part was like maybe 10 minutes of the episode.
Yeah, it was not a major part of the episode. It seemed pretty important last week. And by the way, the first time we see her seeing a ghost this week, she was in the middle of a marathon. Why were all the lights flickering?
That was a little weird too. I mean, other than showing the path of the running route, but I feel like it would be lit up more in advance. But that was the only thing I could think of, was it's just there to show them the route, because the ship is not a normal place where you run. I mean, I guess it is, because they did it in season 1 too.
That's where we get the disco shirts from.
Yeah.
Now, I know 100 years later on the Enterprise D, when Loxana Troi asks how to get somewhere, the ship's computer just lights up panels and says, follow the panels. Mm-hmm. I would think that that would not be such an advanced technology that the Discovery wouldn't have it as well. The ability to directionally light up panels to point people in a way, as opposed to just flashing them in this random haphazard fashion. I get that it fits the theme of, ooh, the ship is haunted by a ghost, but...
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Well, that's what I originally thought they were trying to do. I thought that the lighting was all part of Tilly's hallucination.
Is it plausible? I've already forgotten that moment. Is it plausible that is the case? Or like we're just focusing on Tilly? No, because it was doing for the other runners too. I don't know.
We saw it continue to happen. I don't think it was... And also, Tilly's hallucination has been limited to just the ghost so far.
Yeah. But to answer your question, no, I mean, it's plausible, to either forget about... I mean, in a real sense, it's plausible either forget that they did that in TNG, because I think they did it once. Or if they remembered that, it's like, we're just going to do our own take on it. I mean, if that is the reason, if that is the inspiration.
I don't know. If I was Pike and I saw my ship's lights flickering, I'd be like, what the hell is going on down here? Somebody replace the fuse, flip the breaker, do whatever you got to get the lights working again.
I mean, once to do that if you didn't think anything was wrong. And everyone seemed totally okay with it, so...
There may have been some internal communication to which we were not privy about how the ship's lights would be flickering.
Or just lighting a path.
Although we did see in the short treks, Calypso, where the lights slowly turned on as he advanced down a corridor, and I think he even said that he felt he was being led somewhere.
That is true. And, I actually just watched Calypso again the other night. Oh, it's such a good one. But, yeah, that did happen.
And that is the Discovery, even though it's 1,000 years in the future and not... Mm-hmm. I still think it... Well, anyway, we are very much harping on a very minor point. Which is my style, which is fine. But,
there was some conjecture online about why Tilly didn't want to just listen to the thing as it's pleading for its life at the end. Because this little life form thing, we thought Stamets was the captain. It was like, the all episode, it was like, no, where's the short blonde one? Where's the blonde one? And that's not the captain. That's talking about Pike. That's not the captain. It's the blonde one. And then when they get down to engineering, the spore lady ghost thing is pointing at the spore drive interface. That's how he flies the ship. And so the spore has some kind of awareness about what's going on, but it confused Stamets as the captain.
Did you know who she was describing when she said the short blonde one?
Oh, not until we got down to engineering.
Yeah, I couldn't figure it out myself. I was thinking Kirk isn't blonde, and he's not. I had no idea what was going on, except maybe some sort of a temporal anomaly.
Tilly was basically like, nope, I just want this thing out of me. I'm not going to listen to it, even though as it's pleading here, saying like, this isn't part of the plan. No, not yet. And then they just suck it out with the doogasm, the doodly-doo, doohickey. That's the word I'm looking for.
So you're saying that Tilly should have listened to the ghost, kind of like...
I'm not saying she should have. I just found it interesting that she didn't.
Because we don't know that the spore beast is malevolent. Although, am I inferring correctly that the spore is from the mirror universe?
Oh, I didn't catch that at all, but it's plausible. I can't say it's not the way it is, but I didn't infer that at all.
I would need to rewatch the season 1 finale to know for sure. I don't remember them encountering mirror spores.
To me, the spores were kind of like trans-dimensional or trans-universal. The way that Stamets talked about just how the experience and what it was. So to me, it just felt like they were just an enigma persistent in all realities. It's honestly how I felt the whole time.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't matter what universe you're in, it's the same spores.
Yeah. But, I could be wrong too. It's just that's what the impression I always got.
However, this spore certainly does seem malevolent to a degree. Maybe it is evil.
And maybe they all have some kind of consciousness. We just don't know yet. I guess we'll find out.
Maybe that's why they stopped using the spore drive. Kind of like in... what was the name of that? Is it Phoenix? No, it's not Phoenix. That was...
the Equinox.
Yes, thank you. Oh my god, we're on the same page. Maybe that's why they stopped using the spore drive, kind of like the Equinox in Voyager. You can't use an engine that's powered by living creatures.
Yeah, and that does kind of make sense. I will be fascinating and excited to see if that's how it tracks out.
I think that's pretty much all we have to say about that third of the episode, if it was even that much. Do you want to go ahead with your next TLDR, Captain Maston?
Yeah, talk about the Klingons. The Klingons.
Do it.
I love it when classic Trek, and I think they even said it here the other day. The Klingons, as it was like.
Oh, did they?
No. I think last episode or two, I wrote a note saying like someone said it the TOS way.
Oh, I was not even aware there was a TOS way, but now that you mention it, you're right.
Oh, no. Some Klingons or some people in the original series would say Klingon instead of Klingon.
Interesting.
Even Klingons.
And I think in the original series, didn't the Klingons speak Klingonese?
Oh, that's what the one said in The Trouble with Tribbles. I hear they're teaching people how to speak Klingonese.
But they don't say that anymore. It's just Klingon, right?
Yeah. Just things they didn't stick with.
And have they ever been from the planet Kling?
I think that was the other episode where they're on Kling.
I do seem to recall that coming up. I don't know how you get Klingon from Kronos, but whatever. Maybe it's an excellent...
I mean, how you get human from Earth or Terra or Sol. Not Sol, but yeah.
I mean, we are called Terrans by some.
Yeah.
Especially in the Mirror universe where we have the Terran Empire.
Which I love.
Yes.
Anyway.
Moving on.
The Klingons. And I think I said earlier this is the least interesting. By the end, I found it one of the best ones because I love a character that showed up. Anyway, we return to Kronos. We have the Chancellor proclaiming that we are all houses united. And, but a lot of people are having trouble with this human-looking guy named Ash Tyler, or Voke. Ba-da-da, hey, you don't trust me. Hey, treat me as Voke. And she's like, oh, no, I love you then. And he's like, oh, no, I can't do that. And then, he finds out that Chancellor L'Rell had a baby before the Ash Tyler transformation. Then one of the houses who keeps trying to take over kidnaps the baby. After they find out about the baby, L'Rell and Ash fight bad guy Shar, something like that. And then just as they're about to lose, just as she's forced to sign over the chancellorship, Emperor Georgiou hops in of nowhere, beats the crap out of everyone, and then tells L'Rell, no, you're going to get rid of Ash Tyler because we need you in power here in Klingon, in Kling, or Kronos, and we're going to take the baby, we're going to take Ash, you pretend to kill Ash, you pretend to kill the baby, and we're going to go do things. Oh, and I'm in Section 31. Thank you, bye.
Okay, I love you, bye-bye.
No, for real though, I think by the end, I think this became one of the more interesting, or an interesting arc, but it was kind of dull to me at first. But sometimes Klingon politics is fun to watch, and sometimes it's all right. Yep, just go beat things up.
And which one was this?
It was starting to be okay, let's go beat things up, but then I think got it interesting when the beating up happened when Georgiou was involved.
Ah, yes, Captain Georgiou. So, one of the things I didn't like about this arc was the same thing that you and I discussed last week about the Spore Drive, is that they're bringing back a lot of things from Season 1. I feel like they're almost going backward instead of moving forward.
In what way? What did you like about it then?
I mean, the first 2 episodes of the season, we didn't see L'Rell, we didn't see Ash, and I kind of thought that we were done with them. I felt like they were making room for new characters. I also felt like this Klingon plot, as far as we've seen so far, and this may change in future episodes, it didn't tie into anything else going on in this episode. It was completely discrete.
The only tie-in it had was at the beginning. L'Rell is talking, and Cole, the guy who wanted power, is like, "It's no coincidence that 7 red lights appeared in the sky, and they will drop blood until we get rid of her," or something like that.
Right. Although there was the crossover where Ash called Burnham on the communicator, but even that didn't impact Discovery's plot.
No, it didn't. I did, however, get a kick out of the fact that Burnham has a triple ringtone for Ash.
I totally missed that.
Yeah, because all of a sudden she's talking to Amanda, and all of a sudden you're hoo. And then just like, oh, I got a phone call. Hold on.
That's amazing. I need to go back and rewatch that. That's amazing. One thing I also missed, but which my coworker Tom, with whom I watched this episode, pointed out to me, was that Burnham shows up to Ash in full color, but Ash shows up to Burnham in less than full color.
Yeah, it could be difference in technology, hologram technology, but they also are playing with camera a lot in that one, where like we could see at one point we see, or just use the term, real Michael talking to hologram Ash. Then we switches to Ash, real Ash talking to hologram Michael. Then they also do this really cool split screen thing where real Michael is on the left and real Ash is on the right, but still technically speaking apart. I thought the camera work there was kind of neat.
I agree. That was cool. It almost looked like half of Burnham's quarters were the Klingon homeworld.
Yeah, that was a really neat look.
I concur fully.
That's just a design, as a directorial design. I think.
Yeah.
Just cool camera work.
Yeah, I like that too.
I mean, okay, so there were a few things on here I found interesting. Klingons have hair again, thank God.
They even mentioned that.
They did, and there's like they kind of make it allude to like, oh, the Klingons, they grow their hair out again because they're not at war. There's no precedent for that at all, but I found it interesting. Like in past treks. I mean,
what?
I mean, I was just glad to get rid of season 1 Klingon look.
Were all Klingons bald in season 1?
More or less.
Jeez.
We didn't see any hair on them, so I'm happy for the change. Like, even if they just made up a new precedent, a new retcon, I'm happy with it, just to get the hair back.
Was that the only aesthetic change to the Klingons this season?
I think so. And some got better with speaking with their fake teeth.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't put season 1 and season 2 Klingon side by side. I wasn't sure if maybe their prosthetics or their ridges had changed at all.
Another change is some of the language felt more natural. Like when they were speaking Klingon in the first season, there was a lot of breaks between words. So we can accent, we're speaking Klingon, like James Kirk or William Shatner. But this one, it felt more natural, like more natural speak. I totally felt like it felt different. It felt better, even when they were speaking Klingon, even if they were having troubles with their prosthetics.
Didn't we say in the first season that we were finally, for the first time, hearing Klingon the way it was meant to be spoken?
I mean, to a point, yeah. But I just don't know, like the prosthetics, they did poorly with those. I was happy. I was honestly happy to hear more Klingon last season, but that's me.
I wonder if they changed the language or changed the prosthetics.
I just think people just got better with it, or maybe a little mixture of both, really. I don't really think they changed the language. I think they just got better at directing how to speak it.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I didn't really notice that as much. I did like that they worked into the plot why and when they were speaking English, because it didn't bug me on TNG. Obviously, it was for the viewer's benefit, but it's something I was aware of, is that why would a ship full of Klingons with no humans in sight be speaking English?
Mm-hmm.
No. And even that one part where the subtitles in this episode switched from English to Klingon, that was clever.
That was really cool. I love that scene.
Yeah. It reminds me of a similar scene in the classic movie Nuremberg, where a German is speaking German, and then the camera shifts in such a way that he begins speaking English, and it was a really elegant transition. Also, in the GameCube game Eternal Darkness, where the original main character goes from speaking Latin to speaking English. These are like the only examples I can think of where a shift in language for the viewer's benefit was really cleverly done. That's why I'm bringing them up.
Oh, that's really cool. That's really cool. I like it. There's a few possibilities here, but we got to see pink Klingon blood again, and lots of it.
Oh, so while humans are red and Vulcans are green, Klingons are pink?
Well, in Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, they were forced to color their blood pink because there was so much of it to get a good different rating.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, or they had a special scene where they were just like, they were forced to change the color to bubblegum pink kind of thing, or they chose that color just so they wouldn't get a higher rating. And they stuck with it here, so when they're like stabbing each other at the big fight at the end, there's pink blood, kind of mixed, like a pink-red, pinkish blood just splattering everywhere.
So kind of like how the Super Nintendo version of Mortal Kombat got a T rating instead of M because they changed the blood to gray and called it sweat.
Yep, exactly.
Huh, I had no idea. Where do you learn all these things?
Don't you remember Star Trek 6?
Oh, sure, I do remember Star Trek 6. How many people do you think went to the theaters to see Star Trek 6 and walked out saying, "Did you notice that the Klingon blood was pink? I wonder why that was."
Everyone did. Everyone did.
Everyone? Come on, Bree.
Well, apparently not one.
All but one.
Star Trek 6 is the first Star Trek movie I ever saw in a theater. Or I think I may have seen other ones, but the first Star Trek 6, the first Star Trek movie I was old enough to remember going to.
If you were that young, were you noticing pink blood at that age?
Oh, yeah. It stands out. Blood's red when you're a kid.
And you went home and you looked up on the internet.
I don't know what year I looked it up.
But
or where I found out.
But like you remembered this long enough to go looking for it.
Well, yeah, I've just been on the internet for 30 years. Or 20 years.
To be clear, I'm neither doubting you nor mocking you. I am in awe.
I absorb a lot of Star Trek information.
Which I think is fascinating because this is one of the few places where I can learn something new every week about Star Trek.
Yay.
Hey. So I want to talk about the Deus Ex Machina at the end of the Klingon plot where Captain Georgiou just pops in from nowhere and saves the day.
But she was already there. We saw her.
Did we? Where?
There was a scene. Okay, so I kind of skipped over some of this into my TLDR, but Ash doesn't think L'Oreal's uncle trusts him. And he's sitting in the room alone. He's actually playing with his fingers. He's making them really bloody for some reason. Or I don't know if he's like upset about his fingerprints or his identity. He's having trouble with his Klingon human identity. But anyway, he's sitting there having a moment to himself, and a figure walks by in the background. And to me, I recognized immediately it's not Klingon. But because I saw the preview, I knew what her outfit looked like. But she's walking in the background, and he hears what turns out to be her, but he doesn't know it. He thinks it's L'Oreal's uncle or someone from the family spying on him. So he goes to the house and says, "What's going on?" And he brings a knife and says, "Why don't you trust me?" And they're all like, "But you're fine. You don't understand." Okay, fine. There's a baby. But yeah, actually, while he was sitting there and alone, kind of contemplating life, Georgiou was there.
I totally missed that was her.
Yeah. I mean, it's you. If you didn't know it was her, I mean, if you didn't see like the preview of what she looked like when she popped out, there's no way you would have known.
I would have thought she would have been stealthier than that.
Maybe she was trying to instigate something too.
Still, she did have a lot of very convenient technology that allowed her to wipe out all the opposition.
Yeah, I mean, Section 31 has always been able to get into wherever they need to.
I don't think I've ever seen their tech be that advanced. I mean, to be fair, most of our knowledge of Section 31 comes from DS9. They were not in TNG, mm-hmm. They were not in Voyager, they were in one episode of Enterprise, maybe two. And I don't remember on DS9 them relying on technology. I remember them being able to just like pop up from out of nowhere and get whatever they need, but I don't remember them showing off like walking through walls and having this amazing weaponry, etc.
Oh no, they didn't. It was always left to the imagination. Like, how do they always get to wherever they need to go? How do they always know all the things? But those episodes also focused on Bashir doing things, not them.
Right. And so this episode, I felt, left less to the imagination as far as Section 31 goes.
Yeah, which I thought was cool. I've always loved Section 31.
I also wonder, though, if they have that much technology. Now, we don't know where they get it. I assume it's illicit, but you would think that they would find some way to funnel it back into mainstream Federation technology.
There's a difficult part though. If you give even like Section 31 isn't the Federation, they'll tell you that. And they aren't Starfleet, so if they give them, they'll give them an advantage that who knows? Section 31 is there to maintain the status quo, not to advance the technology of their people, kind of thing.
That's true. They're not the Borg.
Right.
Although Ash Tyler did not seem at all surprised by Section 31.
To me, when I was rewatching that, I was thinking like it's one of those rumored things that, even actually in DS9, no one seemed to know about their existence. But in this time period, everyone seems to have heard that. Kind of like what's something here? The NSA. I don't want to say NSA, but kind of like everyone's the known secret or the worst kept secret. It seems like everyone's heard of it, but no one actually knows if it's real.
So is that what those black comm badges were at the beginning of Season 1?
That's definitely what it was. It was an unexplained thing we never got a resolution to from Season 1. And I think I remember reading later on they were toying with some plots there, but then because of all the changes in showrunners or writers or whatever, all that jazz, they changed things up.
So we don't have a consistent explanation for what they were doing in Season 1, those black comm badges?
No, not yet. Maybe they'll fix something. Maybe they'll add something now, like, oh shoot, maybe we could fix that plot hole and then do something this season, but we just don't know.
I respect that real-world influences do sometimes screw up plots, and I'm happy to let that be a plot hole for now.
Yeah, I mean, if they feel like answering it, I think they will. Like, they'll make it work.
Now, this does seem to be setting up the Captain Georgiou series.
Yeah, I love Section 31. I love Michelle Yeoh, so I'm all for a TV series starring her.
Starring her and Ash Tyler.
Yeah, if he goes into it. Actually, I haven't paid that close attention to it if he's in it too. Or if it's only a Season 2 thing here.
It seems likely, kind of like how the TV show Legends of Tomorrow borrowed characters from Flash and Arrow, etc. They didn't just start with all new characters, they pulled existing ones into their own show. I think that's what they're going to do with this one.
Oh, like Walter pulled from MASH. Very obscure reference.
Was that a character they borrowed, or was it a spin-off?
That was a spin-off, but yeah.
Kind of like Trapper John?
Yeah, Trapper John, MD. Anyway, there's also Albino Baby. We've seen an albino, besides Vogue, we've seen an albino Klingon before.
That's the one that Jadzia Dax and her Klingon friends went up against, right?
Yeah, we don't really... I think that one had troubles, like someone killed his parents, and so I'm going to kill the people who did that, or something like that. It's a little hazy at the moment, but it's not impossible to rule out it's somehow related, but it's not also much to connect with other than also albino.
Well, we know that the Klingons that Jadzia teamed up with on DS9 were also on TOS, and TOS is set 10 years after Discovery. So either the events that they reference in DS9 happen several years after TOS, or that albino baby grows up very fast.
Yeah, so...
What did you think of Georgiou's ship?
I thought it was a neat looking ship, but then, because that's the first time we've ever seen a Section 31 ship. But you pointed out that someone pointed out to you that it looked like something from a movie?
Yeah, again, my coworker Tom said that it looks like Spock's shuttle, I think, from the motion picture. And he also said there were hints of the USS Bozeman, which was in the TNG episode Cause and Effect, and also the Miranda class, which we've seen in various episodes.
It's a nice little nods there.
Yeah, I don't know if it's any of those things. I wouldn't be surprised if Section 31 has their own design.
Same here. Maybe inspired, but I mean, we've seen that they draw from some really cool wells here in Discovery, like making things canon that never were. Like apparently, the fact that they reference that Control wants you to do this in the Section 31 ship was pulled from Beta canon. They referenced Section 31 leaders as Control.
I had no idea. I just assumed it was a Get Smart reference.
It could be. It could be.
You know, they're trying to save the Federation from chaos. And maybe that's where all those hairy mud androids came from. They were based on the same design as Jaime.
That's it. There you go.
Hey, I figured it out. The Star Trek Get Smart crossover I've been waiting for.
Get your cone of silence.
Yay!
I did love one little scene here, Giorgio. When Ash is holding the baby, she walks up kind of quietly. And she has this like coos at it for a split second before Ash turns and notices her. And she's like, oh, no, straight face.
Can't be a mom when you're a Klingon.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that leaves us to the third and final TLDR.
Yeah, go for it.
Michael Burnham, the main character of the show, is visited by her foster mother, Lady Amanda. She comes aboard to say, hey, I went to see Spock. They wouldn't let me see him, so I stole his medical records on this USB thumb drive. Can you decipher it? She says no. Captain Pike says no. Captain Pike calls an old friend and learns that Spock has killed 3 doctors and escaped. Pike says decipher those medical charts. They decipher them, and pictures of the Red Angel are in there. Burnham says that I need to find out what Spock knows about the Red Angel, but he won't talk to me because I did something irreparably cruel to him as a child to push him away from me because I thought it would be better for him in the long run. And Lady Amanda says, I will go find Spock.
Let's see ya.
Yeah, and I thought that she seemed kind of mad at Michael and the way she stormed off. And then the way we saw somebody else storm in to the Klingon homeworld for a split second there, not knowing that that was going to be Captain Georgiou, because I don't watch the previews. I thought that was Lady Amanda.
I guess, well, she did have a hood.
That would have been such a rewrite for her character.
Yes, it would have. Oh.
Imagine if Lady Amanda was in Section 31. How cool would that be?
That'd be really weird.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't do that.
But I can't rule it out that they won't do it. But yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah, who knows?
She didn't seem kind of mad. She was furious.
At Michael?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She gave her the kiss goodbye and talk to you later. You hurt my son. I'm out of here. She was furious.
I couldn't tell if she was furious or determined. I certainly accept that she could have been furious, but we still don't know what Burnham did to Spock.
We don't know. We may find an answer eventually. I'm guessing we will. But yeah, it was very bad. And Amanda was like, all right. Basically, makes it plausible why we never hear of Michael in any other series.
Do you have any theories as to what she did to him? I have one.
I don't, other than she physically hurt him.
Well, I was thinking to myself, what kind of an injury could any of my brothers have done to me that would make me hate them for life? I mean, if they had called me names, if they'd locked me in a closet, if they'd told me that mom didn't love me or that I was adopted, none of those things would leave a permanent scar that I would never get over. But there's one thing only, that if any of my brothers had ever done to me, I never would have spoken to any of them ever again. And that is if they'd killed my dog.
Oh, could have been like killed his, was it Srilak?
A Selot.
Selak, okay.
Yeah. Now, I didn't have a dog, which is why I still speak to my brothers. But we know that Spock did from the animated series. And if Michael ever did anything to that Selot, I don't know what Spock would have done. I mean, granted, he's supposed to be this unemotional Vulcan, but I don't know. Dogs got a way of bonding with their owners, and that's not something that you get over lightly.
Yeah.
But still, I feel like the way they're building this up and the way that Burnham refused to tell Lady Amanda this past week, I almost feel like if we build this up over the season and finally she comes out and says, I'm sorry I killed your dog, that almost seems like it would be not what we're expecting. It's almost not dramatic enough.
Yeah, I feel like it would be some kind of psychological thing.
Right. Yeah. I don't know, like maybe Spock tried to mind meld with her, and I don't know. Who knows? It's weird.
Yeah.
Family is weird.
Yes, it is.
What else did you think about this subplot?
I mean, I found like interesting. Like we had, unrelated to the Spock thing, that like Pike is calling the starbase, and the guy's like, he makes a joke about how Pike and his great grandmother are the only 2 people left in the quadrant who use 2D screens for calls.
Yeah, I thought I liked that, especially since, as we know from TOS, TNG, etc., that 2D screens are all anybody uses.
But for real though, I thought there's something I don't have an answer for yet. I think we're not supposed to yet. But Spock has nightmares related to the Red Angel. But the Red Angel has also led the Discovery crew, and even Spock when he was younger, to people that needed help.
That's true. That is how Spock found Michael when she ran away.
Yeah, and so I don't have an answer for that yet, but I found that interesting.
Well, I mean, we also do know that the Red Angel saved all those people who were about to be killed in World War III, and she led the Discovery to the Hiawatha before it got destroyed and saved its entire crew. I mean, it has not outrightly done anything malevolent yet.
Yeah, other than apparently give Spock nightmares, either intentionally or not.
And maybe make the rings around that planet collapse, but knowing that the Discovery would save it.
Yeah.
I'm wondering also if the Red Angel has some sort of a non-temporal view of the world, non-linear view, I mean, because like it can tell what is going to happen. It can almost see the future.
Yeah. Like the Wormhole aliens.
Right. And again, just like I don't think the Red Angel is Q, I don't think it's a prophet either, but we're definitely seeing some related powers and abilities.
Yeah. I don't have a... Yeah. We definitely are.
Oh, and I forgot, you have a hypothesis. What would that be?
There's very loose threads here. There's very little things connecting this one together. When I was watching this on Thursday night, I had wait a minute, that looks like this. Watching the opening credits, and they had the Red Angel doing their thing in the opening credits. Like, that kind of looks like the Romulan Star Empire logo. And there's not a lot of threads there going, but I can't come 100% rule it out, but it just doesn't make much sense. But I mean, it did kind of make sense in the thought of like, what would make later Spock want to do reunification if some traumatic thing happened with the Vulcans and Romulans and things like that. But I really can't, I don't have much to go on there. It just kind of appeared in my head.
So the opening credits that you skipped in episode 1.
Yeah, I finally watched them.
So we, of course, have seen Romulans in other pre-TNG episodes. They were in Balance of Terror episode of TOS, it's where we first saw them. We saw their ships and the Romulans themselves working behind the scenes in season 4 of Enterprise. And also one earlier season episode, there was like a minefield.
Yeah, in Enterprise Minefield, yeah. The episode was called Minefield.
Facepalm. Great, thanks. So I don't know that they would do that again. They would be limited by canon in not allowing Starfleet to see Romulans, or at least not go on the record with them, kind of like Mirror Universe. Oh, we did discover it before everybody else, we just can't talk about it.
Yeah, like, there's not much going there other than reference like Beta Quadrant. This is very tied to Spock, and the vague similarity of the design of the Romulan Star Empire logo and the Red Angel. Oh, since I watched Calypso immediately after episode 3 on Thursday night, the future guy had a tattoo of a similar shape as well. It was like a Cyclops.
And we were
eagle.
wondering how all the short treks would tie into the main show.
Yeah, so maybe there's a connection there, but it seems kind of loose and what's the word?
Tenuous.
Or tenuous, yeah, tenuous at the moment, but I can't 100% rule it out. I just don't have much.
Well, it's certainly possible, and I wouldn't mind seeing the Romulans. That would be a cool tie-in. On the other hand, since season 1 did the Mirror Universe, I wouldn't mind seeing season 2 do something wholly original. I mean, again, It's hard to introduce a new alien race when you're limited by canon, but it would be cool to see them encounter some genuinely new threat.
Yeah. I mean, heck, we saw Ferengi and Borg on Enterprise, so there's ways you can make it work.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we never again saw Denobulans, which is too bad, because they're awesome.
Yes, I love Denobulans.
What else do you have in your notes, if anything, about this subplot?
I did find it odd that apparently in Starfleet, when you steal files, you delete any originals as well. Because in that call, they're like, Spock ran away. I can't give you any information because things got weird. Someone stole files.
The files are missing, right?
Yeah. And it was like, do you just delete these things?
Well, when Lady Amanda originally said she had stolen the medical records, I kind of forgot what era we were living in this show, and she reached under her shawl, and I thought she was going to pull out a manila folder with papers in it, because not every hospital is using electronic medical records yet. But of course it would be a thumb drive.
Yeah. We don't know if it was her steal. I mean, it was maybe coincidence that she stole at the same time someone else tried to do a cover-up. Section 31. Maybe?
Oh, that's interesting. I was kind of wondering how she got her hands on the medical records in the first place anyway.
I mean, she used the ambassador codes to take the ship and get on Discovery. And so, who knows? She may have had some other ways.
Wait, ambassador codes? What?
Oh, and she was on Sarek's ship, and it was giving the ambassador a signal, like, well, gotta just take it in.
And you think she did that without Sarek's knowledge?
It sure seemed that way. Because she was being very quiet. This episode, I had to turn up because it was all the whispering. was
I
a
had
very
some
quiet
trouble
episode.
hearing things. I wasn't sure if that was because I was watching it on a different TV.
Oh no, I had to turn it up way higher than I normally have
Oh,
to
good.
watch
I'm
this.
glad that it wasn't just me.
No. It was all very quiet. We always have to whisper, even though we have TV
It
audience.
was very ASMR.
Oh God.
What, you don't like that?
Star Trek ASMR.
Wait. I'm Googling that right now. Star Trek ASMR.
It's
Oh,
like
yeah, here it is.
not as we know
Oh,
it.
my gosh. There's 500,000 hits for that combination.
Oh man, I could bet the warp drive, TNG warp drive, just
I'm
going
not seeing
is
it,
one of them.
but it could be. Moving on.
This episode was fine. I didn't hate it at all, but much like some of the short treks, it felt like just maybe you should have split this up.
Yeah, I definitely don't disagree there. I kind of wish that they had waited on the Klingon thing and put it with something else that made sense, because when you say this could be 3 short treks, the way I was thinking of it was most episodes of Star Trek have an A plot and a B plot. Like on DS9, it might be the Dominion is at war with us, and also Julian and Miles are having an adventure on the holodeck.
That was my exact reference in my head too. I was thinking of.
I love those subplots. And this episode of Discovery, I felt like there were 3 subplots. Plots A, plots B, and plot C. And it's too much. It's kind of like when a Batman movie has too many villains.
Or
Spider-Man 3. We don't talk about that one. So I don't know what they were aiming for here. I don't know if they were just trying to fill the hour or if they just have this many threads they need to throw at us all at once. I hope they slow things down and go for depth instead of breadth in future episodes.
Yeah. Like I said, it was fine. I didn't hate it. I just there's lots of moments I loved in it. I just, could have done better.
Moments do not an episode make. So if we have nothing else to say about Point of Light, shall we talk about Carpool Karaoke?
Yeah.
So this is a TV or online show which neither of us watch, but which celebrities get into a van, drive around town, and are filmed singing together and just having some banter between songs. And they did an episode of Carpool Karaoke with Tilly, Saru, Michael, and Stamets.
Yeah, it was a fun little ditty for a song.
The actual Carpool Karaoke was... I'd never seen the show, and neither of us really see the appeal of it, because it's just karaoke with people who really aren't singers, generally speaking. But this episode had a couple of things going for it. First, Anthony Rapp. He was in the original Broadway cast of Rent. He is a singer. He knows what he's doing. And it was great to see him doing some karaoke. And 2, the banter between these characters in between episodes was a lot of fun. I mean, they were talking about their memories of shooting the first episode together, and Tilly was talking about... I mean, they were all going around about what it's like to be at conventions and be asked for autographs, not only for Discovery, but all these other shows they've done. And Mary Wiseman is like, oh yeah, my extensive off-Broadway repertoire really makes me a huge hit at the conventions. Because next to those other 3 stars, I don't think she's probably as famous. It was fun to see her sort of do that kind of humor. And also, they pulled over to the side of the road at one point, and they shared a meal of space food, like basically what we sent up to the astronauts. And that was hilarious, because one of the things I found really distracting about the entire episode was that no cut was longer than 3 seconds. Anytime that they were singing, the cameras in the van were constantly switching angles, very distracting. But when they went for the space food, and Michael Burnham tried a vegan space burrito, the camera just stayed on her face while she experienced every morsel, and she was appalled by this food, and it was so subtle and so drawn out and so delicious. So you can watch that show for free on any iOS or tvOS device that has the Apple TV app. If you want to watch it on the web, you need to have an Apple Music account, I think. I've never used Apple Music, but that seemed to be what it was telling me to do. But even without that, you can watch a 1-minute sneak peek on YouTube or Twitter, which was quite the experience. Do you want to tell us about it?
We had the Michael, Saru, Stamets, and Tilly all singing their own version of 525,600 bits. And I got a kick out of it. It's cute for a song I hate.
Yeah, the song
original,
Seasons
I
of
hate.
Love is a little bit overdone, but it was really clever that they chose to use it because Stamets sang it in the original Broadway version. So to have the original cast member singing the song, but with lyrics all about Star Trek, it was fantastic.
Yeah, it was cute. It was fun.
525 Star Trek shows to explore.
525,600 spin-offs.
I had no idea what a great singer Michael Burnham is.
Yeah, or any of them. I mean, I hadn't heard any of them sing before. I guess I'd forgotten. I knew about Anthony Rapp being in Rent, but I entirely forgot it until you mentioned it before the show here.
Mm-hmm. Actually, you're right. They were all good singers, but in hindsight, the reason I mentioned Michael Burnham specifically is because her voice was higher than I expected. I watching the show, I would have thought she was an alto, but she sounded more like a soprano.
See, that's more thought than I had given into it.
Oh, well, I used to sing in the men's choir when I was in college, so
That makes sense.
I wouldn't call myself a musician, but I have done a lot of musicals, and so this is just something I picked up on.
Well, right on. See, you bring your expertise, your knowledge base to the show, right?
Right. The Star Trek podcast. You bring Star Trek. I bring community theater. Nice to know one of us is relevant.
Hey, on Star Trek, they have recitals and things like that, and reenactments and terrible season 2 episodes of TNG because their writers are on strike all the time.
I actually like all the recitals that they have with Data playing the violin and...
Oh, no, I didn't say those are bad. I meant the clip episode of season 2 in TNG, but that's a...
Oh, Seasons of Grey? Or no, what am I talking about? Shades of Grey, right?
Yeah.
Wait, was that the name of it?
Oh, I don't know.
Because now I'm thinking of 50 Shades of Grey.
And here I'm thinking of the Q episodes. Q in the Grey.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it was called Shades of Grey. Weird. I knew that was the name of the episode. I never put it into context. Nowadays, if you were to say that name, you would think 50 Shades of Grey.
I didn't even think of it here. But I don't think of that movie or book.
Now we have. Now we're never going to be able to get it out of our heads.
I will, thankfully, easily.
I mean, you watched that clip episode 50 times, and that is 50 Shades of Grey.
Ugh. That is, okay, that's a challenge. That's like a 2019 charity drive challenge.
Like Desert Bus or something. I love it. All right, well, I think that's it for this week then.
Yeah, on that note.
I have not watched the preview for Season 2, Episode 4, but I am looking forward to it because there's nowhere to go but up from here.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I don't think we'll be seeing the Klingons next week. I don't think we'll be seeing Captain Georgiou next week. I think that was mostly built up to the Captain Georgiou TV show, and maybe we'll see the Klingons again, but only if their society further destabilizes and or somehow ties into the Red Pulses.
Oh no, yeah, they're gonna get. It's all gonna get tied in. The Georgiou TV show is not gonna happen for a while.
When do you think we'll actually get to meet Spock?
I sure hope it's soon, but I'm guessing at least by halfway, like they did with the Mirror Universe last time.
Yeah, so there are 15 episodes, I think, in this season, so 7.5 would be halfway through, and so we're halfway done the first half of the season. So, more or less. Maybe less. But, yeah, I think it'll be soon. Like, we have seen so many photos and videos of him, we have a general idea of what he looks like, so there's not really any surprise in holding him back any longer.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yep.
Well, don't you know?
Oh, jeez.
But whenever he does show up, we will be here on Transporter Lock to review that episode.
Yes, until next time, I'm Sabriel.
I'm Ken.
Hit it.
If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave a review on iTunes and keep your hailing frequencies open by following us on Twitter @TransporterLock or subscribing to our podcast and email newsletter at transporterlock.com.
So, all right, that's a wrap.
All right, that's an Anthony rap.
That's an Anthony wrap.
Oh, lordy.
So many bloopers.
No, that's just me normally talking. I intend every word or near word I say.
You don't actually listen to Transporter Lock, do you?
Oh, no. I mean, no. Once in a while I catch it, but no. You just keep me muted the whole time. You just talk to yourself.
I do put bloopers in.
Oh yeah, I know that part. Yeah.
Okay, just so you're aware.
I don't know why you keep thinking my speech is bloopers. Everything I say is as it should be.
When I download the tracks from Zencaster, that's how they're labeled. Track 1, Ken. Track 2, bloopers.
Huh, that's weird.
Yeah. It's like it knows.